Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, we got a pretty interesting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, I actually recently just had this mint, and man, my voice is burning right now. But anyway, as you guys know, there was a story yesterday that we reported on this channel. Right, we produced a show that was essentially centered on a report that came out from Front Office Sports that was basically detailing the possibility of Shannon Sharpe joining Stephen A. Smith on ESPN First Take, with a contributor role. Come in there maybe once a week, the same way Chris Mad Dog Russo does, or JJ Redick, or Kendrick Perkins, or one of these people, right? So we did we did a show about that. We discussed it. Since producing that show, various other outlets have caught a whiff of that story. A lot of content creators have put out content on it. For instance, just yesterday, I saw a clip from Tour Off of Sports. I watched his show, and he was talking about it as well. So a lot of people have discussed it. So what happened? The news is out there, and then this morning I was going through the internet, just combing through the internet, and I stumbled upon, because I wanted to see if other people are talking about it in the key figures. And this morning I came across, a Twitter tweet of Shannon Sharpe. And he said something, and he was responding to Stephen A. Smith. And I saw like a bunch of popcorn. And I wasn't quite sure. So once I, had an opportunity to get to it, I went to go visit the tweet that Stephen A. Smith himself put up, where he was addressing the rumor or the story that was put out by Legion of Hoops, right? And on his Twitter page, he actually addressed it. And then Shannon Sharpe himself responded to the tweet that Stephen A. Smith put out about that very same story that we covered yesterday. On Front Office Sports. But before we get into that, this video is brought to you by sponsor Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the T-Wolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura, by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So let me go ahead and get into this tweet here. Basically, Stephen A. Smith was responding to this report. So he wrote, "Look for me on Friday, folks. I'll be addressing all the things I need to address back on the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast on Friday, then live on First Take Monday morning. See y'all in a minute. Buckle up." So that's what he put out. Then Shannon Sharpe, he goes out there and he responds, "What you addressing on Friday? I got some free time, so feel free to FT me before my meetings." And he had a bunch of popcorn there, right? He had a bunch of popcorn. Then he also put out in another tweet where he said, "My daughter called me and says, 'Daddy, you're trending. Why am I trending? Or do I even want to know? Lottery officials aren't supposed to leak info." So apparently Shannon Sharpe has been playing the lottery. But anyway, so Stephen A. Smith has now said he's going to address this story on his show, and he's going to address it on live television on ESPN First Take. Now, why is this important? The reason this is important is because after Shannon Sharpe left Undisputed, Stephen A. Smith was the first person I publicly heard go out there to recruit Shannon Sharpe. He was the first one. He recruited Shannon Sharpe to ESPN. He spoke about the pull that he has on his show. He recruited him there, and he said that he would like to see, he wouldn't mind having Shannon Sharpe on his show as a weekly contributor, the way Chris Mad Dog Russo and others do it, because he likes a rotating panel. He doesn't want to go back to the old debate format of him and Max Kellerman going back and forth with each other every single day. So that's what Stephen A. Smith said just under a month or so ago, because Shannon Sharpe he left undisputed the day after the NBA Finals. So to see that this news has come this far, and then we actually did a report on it, it shows you that this is a real story. That's number one. Number two, what does this mean for ESPN First Take moving forward? And what does it mean for Shannon Sharpe's career? First of all, listen, I think this is going to be mutually beneficial. I think that if ESPN finds a way to bring Shannon Sharpe into the fold, because remember, Shannon Sharpe did work with ESPN in the past, that's number one, and he actually filled in on one episode when Stephen A. Smith wasn't there, and he had an episode actually with Skip Bayless a number of years ago when Skip Bayless was still working at ESPN. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I think it'll be mutually beneficial. Number one, it'll bring in a fresh new face on ESPN First Take. It will bring in a person that's already proven. Number three, it will bring in a person that already has their own following outside of the system. I keep going back to this. Now they're looking for people that have their own audiences. So you're bringing in a Shannon Sharpe who already has his audience, the same way they brought in a JJ Redick, right? So he's going to be bringing a premium to them. Number four, he's going to have some very, very entertaining segments with Stephen A. Smith. Now, I don't know if they're going to be exclusively discussing football or they're going to be talking all things sports. That I don't know. If they're going to be bringing him the way they bring in Chris Mad Dog Russo for an entire day, I don't know. We have to wait and see because generally ESPN talks about a bunch of things, right? And I think a lot of these shows are now gearing up, getting ready for the NFL season. It's pretty much right around the corner. So I think it'll be very, very beneficial to ESPN. In the case of Shannon Sharpe, it'll be very beneficial to him as well. Why? Because he keeps his name out there, right? He's on television. His name is going to grow. More people are going to search him. And it's going to help his other endeavors, which is, I believe, his Club Shay Shay podcast, which is doing very, very well. I was actually looking at some of the numbers today in terms of ratings. They have thousands of ratings. People have rated the show, which means that they get a lot of downloads, and it's a commodity. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Shannon Sharpe operating in a capacity in which he goes to ESPN First Take once a week, the same way JJ Redick does. And then on the other days, he's operating his podcast, which I believe is going to be sponsored by one of these big sports books. I wouldn't be surprised if a company like FanDuel, DraftKings, one of these guys pick up Shannon Sharpe's show, right? Because remember, they had offered Pat McAfee a $120 million deal over 4 years. So they have a lot of money, to work with, and maybe they may funnel some of that cash towards Shannon Sharpe, a person that, number one, is already a household name, number two, already has an audience, and number three, they know he's going to remain relevant because at once a week he's going to be able to go on TV and talk sports, which is ultimately going to be beneficial for his show. So I expect him to say something along the lines that Shannon Sharpe may most likely be coming into the fold to work at ESPN, and if they do that, good for them. They picked up a hot free agent and they're able to make something work, and they're going to be able to, make something work that I think is going to help both parties. But I guess we have to wait and see what Stephen A. Smith has to say tomorrow and ultimately what he has to say on Monday. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.